Great.
Hi, Greg. No, it was Lila. Yep.
Greg, while I have you here, I wanted to ask you about the external link. Lila was saying that when y'all streamed during COVID, it was an internal and an external link for the meetings. I know you can watch it live and comment on YouTube, so that's one way the public can engage. But I didn't know anything about the external link. So is that something you set up on your side?
So,
Okay, because I
Greg,
know.
oh, go ahead, sorry.
Oh, I was just gonna say because I know if somebody wants to come to the public, they have to submit something in advance. They want to come to the minute, then they submit it. But go ahead, Lila. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna actually say that when we were online during COVID, there was a separate link for folks to access the meeting, and then there was the internal link for committee members, and then for presenters and things like that. And that, I think, separated. I think it was for reasons of like having access to kind of our systems and things like that. But I don't know if that's still the case. And if we just provide the regular Teams link that the committee members access the meeting from for everyone to join or anyone to join. It being a public meeting and anyone can join and participate. So it'd be anyone from the public if they wanted. So now that we're online, people from the public can't. When we were in person, they could just show up and ask a question or something like that. Not that we had anyone show up, but they could. Now that we're online, how do we facilitate that process? Yeah. Hmm. Okay. 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 So they would still get the regular Teams link, and we would send it to them upon request, or do we make that Teams link public? Okay. Okay. Okay, let me figure out what we can do with that. Okay. Okay. Sounds good. Thank you. The other co-chair and then the remaining member.
up. We have very few things to actually vote on today. So at this point, this is John Pacheco chairing the Equity Advisory Committee. I'll call the meeting to order. The first agenda on this is note. Oh, wait a minute, I got a quorum. Hold on. Call soon meeting. First order of business is approval of the agenda. If there's no changes or additions here, I would assume that this will be passed and move forward. And is there any comments or any changes on the agenda? Seeing none, I think we're ready to go here. The next item on the agenda is approval of the. Wait a minute, hold on. No, let's put. Okay, the next item here is 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 there someone wishing to speak to the I'm gonna have to get this thing's worded different for me. Anyway, so if someone wishes to speak, and no one else wants to speak, seeing no further discussion, we're all in favor of adopting the agenda, all opposed, it is passed. Approval of the next order of business is the approval of the minutes. Now, they weren't sent out right away. They are available now. But if you want to quickly wax through, we could approve them, or we can approve the next two sets of the past minutes and the ones from today at our next meeting. Any suggestions here?
Move
Lila?
approval, Mr. Chairman. Edward.
Edward, thank you. And so we
Second.
moved approval. Is there a second? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay.
Aye.
Opposed? No. Seeing none, motion carries. Now, here's the part that I was kind of confused about again, was the public invitation. We have 5 minutes. We provide 5 minutes for some interested persons to address the committee. We have time for members of the public to address the committee. Is there anyone wishing to speak? Is there, and I don't know if according to Robert's rules, do I need to ask 3 times, but I'm going to. Is there anyone wishing to speak for the body? Is there anyone wishing to speak? Seeing none, I would assume that there's no one wishing to speak, and we'll move forward. Now we have the agenda here, and actually we are starting. So joining us today, Transit Assistance Program, Andrea Kipe, sorry if I got that wrong. Transit Assistant Program Coordinator, Metro Transit. Andrea, do you want to kick it off?
Yes, thank you very much, Chair. I will start presenting now as soon as I can. Here we go. Please let me know if this is working.
I got it.
Very good.
Okay.
Also, I'm going to just stick into the chat. There are 2 websites associated with TAP. The first one is just for individual TAP users, and the second is for nonprofits interested in becoming partners. So I'll tell you more about that later, but just so I don't forget, it's right there. Well, so good evening. Thank you so much for this opportunity to speak to you all. I'm going to try to keep this presentation relatively brief to allow plenty of time for questions. I am I'm Andrea Keepy, rhymes with sleepy, the Transit Assistance Program Coordinator. So I'm going to start by talking a little bit about who this program is intended for and why it was created, a little bit of how it was structured, and then we're going to kind of get into the nuts and bolts of how it works, and some sort of more, I guess, regional kind of contextual issues. And then if you are really hankering for it, I have in-depth performance metrics. So everyone loves a performance metric, so that's available too. Okay, so let's start off. Yes.
Yeah, now, is there a PowerPoint with this? I'm not getting it now, so.
Is anybody seeing the PowerPoint?
Yeah, I can see it.
Yeah, I can see it. We sent it an email as well,
Yeah, I see it.
so you can also pull it up
I
in
see
email.
it.
I'll put it in the
Yeah,
chat
you may,
for you.
Councilmember
you may
Pacheco,
need to change the view.
Yep. There was a little PowerPoint link that popped up on in the comments section.
Okay, you can go ahead. I'll find it.
Okay. All right. Okay, well, so
I got
let's
it.
start off with what transit assistance program is and who it's intended to serve. This is a reduced fare program for lower income people in the metro area. So I'm going to talk a little about who that is. For the metro area, that's roughly 500,000 people, and it's maybe the person who's checking you out at the grocery store, the person who's washing your dishes after you go out to dinner, somebody who's selling you a T-shirt at the mall. There's a lot of them. About a third of our workers are lower wage workers, and they make up a quarter of the total workforce. And so they are under a lot of pressure right now, especially with high inflation. Um, uh, One of the things that I was surprised to learn as I did research about this, I would have thought, I think everyone knows that housing is one of the greatest problems for really everyone right now. But transportation is actually number two, especially for these people in the lower income bracket. It's their second highest expense, higher than food, higher than healthcare. And so it can actually make up 30% of their total after-tax income, which is a huge chunk. And I think everyone knows that situation. Maybe it was when you were younger in your first entry-level job, struggling, um, where you're in a situation where uh, I have to get to work. I can take transit, or I can get an old car and do like my dad said and run it into the ground. But then you're in that difficult situation where you're one brake problem or starter motor or transmission problem away from the car not working and expensive repair. And then maybe you can't get to work, and then maybe you lose your job, and then there's trouble. So we need to make it as easy as possible for people in that situation to be able to continue to work and to be able to keep going with their life and have a little wiggle room. Um, Unfortunately, given the situation we're in right now, the importance of I've always felt that transit's very important, but the importance is even greater now, as it's one of the most difficult times to do that thing where you're buying an affordable used car and running it into the ground. It's more expensive than ever, and of course, fuel prices are also high. So then we're in this situation here, which, this cartoon is actually from the 19th century, but unbelievably, it's still something we see every day, where people, especially in these lower segments, are really just squeezed between the housing prices and the low wages. And so, what can we do to make things easier for them? Okay, so and that's where TAP comes in. Um, So what is TAP? TAP provides a reduced fare um, for people in that lower income bracket. It lasts for a year, and after that, you can renew it. To get qualified for TAP, I'm getting a question.
Oh, hi, Mercedes. I represent Ward 1. I just want to know, who is the artist and the visionary behind the image that you just shown of the cartoon? The
I
imagery is deeply unsettling and appears to depict a minority figure being crushed by a white man, accompanied by the words monopoly, capitalism, and wage slavery. What is the intended message of this image?
I confess I think this is in the public domain. I do not know the person who made this cartoon.
I just find it odd that you guys would put that out, um, and then you don't even have like any information for why. Like, because if something is disturbing or it disturbs you, why would you want to support that type of imagery and representation of your company?
Noted.
That's all you have to say.
I don't know what to say.
Your response
Mr.
is
Chair.
disturbing.
I think we can note that and make that understanding it's on public record, and I'm pretty sure she can adjust the presentation as fit. Maybe if she can choose another image to get her point across, or maybe that's something that can be discussed at a
Mr.
later.
Chair,
Or maybe
Yeah.
on behalf of the council, you can just apologize for using it because it offended somebody. Start there and then we can move forward.
and Mr. Chair, if I might, I would just agree with Mercedes that it is offensive. And I would also add, so too is wage theft and taking advantage of people that we see in circumstances where people are kind of being trodden down. So I agree that this is an offensive photo. I think the act of robbing people of fair wages is also offensive. And so I'm not as insulted by it as I am by the thought of what we're talking about today. And, hopefully our transit assistance program can help us to assist those people. But we all need to be focused on making certain that people have the opportunity to thrive.
Okay, you want to continue? And I agree with what's been said. I also, well, I agree. Can we move?
Thank you. This was founded in 2017 by my former boss, who has since retired from Metro Transit. She hired me in 2018, and in that time, we've added new eligibility measures for unemployment benefits and people who are seeking asylum or refugee status. And we've done a number of different things to make it more easily accessible to people, with an automated application online, and doing more to promote the program. So how do we define lower income? In the metro area, that's 50% of area median income, which is at these levels for different household sizes. We've tried to make it as easy as possible to apply for this, to reduce barriers. People can do that online in just a few moments. They can go to one of our transit service centers, and we do also have over 150 different community partner organizations across the metro area where they can get this directly with other services that they might need. That includes all the nonprofits that you might expect would deal directly with people in these income ranges: food shelves, clinics, women's shelters, etc. So these are just a few of the examples of the over 150 different partner organizations that TAP works with. And one of the things that has really been a benefit for us lately has been opening up the city of Minneapolis as a partner organization. That's took a lot of work, but one of the nice things about that is partner organizations are not limited to the social benefits programs as a way to document somebody's income status. They can go directly from a pay stub or a tax return. So that opens it up to people who maybe are in that income bracket where they are lower income, but maybe they make a couple $1,000s a year too much to qualify for, say, SNAP or medical assistance. And so they can apply directly. And of course, Minneapolis has this beautiful new service center right by our government center station where people can go and get the TAP. Some challenges that we face. We're always trying to find ways to make this better and more accessible to people. Not really a problem for the people who use the program, but a problem from my standpoint of finding people to use it. We did recently remove rush hour, which is great for riders. Makes transit even more affordable for them, especially for seniors and youth, which those riders are able to use the $1 ride more often, and except during the express buses. But that means that some of the organizations we had worked with that serve primarily youth and seniors, it's just not as big a draw for them. So we have to focus even more on those lower income workers, people of working age. Unfortunately, the social benefits expansions from the pandemic have expired. So literally millions of people stopped getting those benefits. And of course, people were using those to qualify. So we need to open it up and make it easier for people to show that they are eligible, even if maybe they are not getting, say, SNAP benefits anymore. Of course, the changes at the federal level have made it less likely that immigrants will be seeking social benefits programs. TAP is included in that, and so we need to find a way to encourage accessibility. And of course, another problem that is purely from my standpoint in getting the message out there, but great for our actual ridership, is that we have some other pass programs, our schools pass, the access pass, that are serving some of these lower income metro area residents, serving them very well, but it does again kind of limit our base for who we would be trying to get TAP to. So we talked a little bit about the limiting factors, and we're working on that. I won't hit this gong too hard on proving eligibility, but that is a major barrier. And so we're always looking at ways to open it up to more people. Some of the positive trends, we've had a great year for TAP. Ridership has been up 13% last year overall, so pretty much double-digit growth rates every month. Our new trip agents that are out there have been really wonderful, helping to get TAP brochures into people's hands and frankly, just talking it up in their conversation with riders. And then we've been doing a lot of events out in the community, working well with our outreach staff, and doing some partnership work with some of the major partners out there as well. Just skip that. And so how can you help? Spreading the word about TAP to people that you know in the community is really key. We have 150 different partner organizations. We're always looking for more, and we're always looking for ideas to improve TAP. So, thank you so much for your time.
Do we have questions or comments?
I have a comment.
Yeah.
I'm Vanessa Jenkins. I'm co-chair and represent District 6. Andrea, thank you so much for your presentation. I am also founder and executive director of a nonprofit organization, and we are also a partner organization with TAP. It was a seamless process. It has been an amazing resource for our clients, the people that we serve, people that are coming to healing circles, survivors of domestic violence, things of that nature. Because as you stated in your presentation, people are just one incident away from losing their job when something happens with their car or they don't have the funds to take Uber or Lyft. So this has been an amazing program. So thank you.
That's great to hear, ma'am.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
this is Edward.
Yep.
Thank you for the presentation. Mr. Chair, I'd like to just go on record apologizing on behalf of the Metropolitan Council for the photo that was shown, since we didn't get it from our presenter. And also just wanted to go back to the slide where you discuss median household income in the metro area.
Mm-hmm.
Can we pull that back up?
It'll just take me a second. One moment.
Thank you. Just pass it, I think.
Yes.
So this program is geared toward, can you just explain that to me again? 50% of the metro median income?
Yes, for the metropolitan statistical area, Minneapolis and St. Paul and the surrounding suburbs.
And the metro median is, I'm assuming, like $86,000, $87,000 based on this
For a household of one person, yes.
Okay. I was just pulling up real quick here. African American families metro median income is $37,000. If that there's a person of one, they would be eligible, but not as a family, right?
I'm the average is, if it's less than that, they would be eligible.
They would be eligible any of these categories here.
If the figure is 36,000, then yeah.
Okay. All right. That's what I was trying to figure out. It's 50%, anything less than $43,000, be it family or person, they would be eligible.
It scales up with the household size. So say a single mom with one child, that would be a household of two. So that income for that person could be 49,700.
All right. Thank you.
Mhm.
Excuse me, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Should I be raising my hand on the app here? That I could have done that. Okay, I just wanted to ask, based on what we know about incomes in our area and the number of people that would qualify, can you give us a sense of what we think the penetration and uptake of this program is? You know, how well does it cover the percentage of individuals who should qualify? And maybe we look at workers, you know, instead of all individuals, because we don't know how many children are taking the public transportation or students. I'm not sure how we look at that. But is there some sense that you can give us of what the penetration is and how well we're doing in terms of outreach?
I think it would be difficult for me to comment on that with any degree of certainty. I would say that our penetration could be much greater. I think
Yeah.
we're serving only a fraction of the people who are eligible.
Yeah. I appreciate knowing that that's a guess. I'd really like to understand how we might better understand what the uptake on this is. I agree that we can probably do a lot better. And I'm glad for the organizations who are participating now. I'm wondering if we have capacity for a lot more organizations. And I know that a part of our conversation is how do we reach them? How can we make this attractive for organizations to work with us? And so I would ask, you know, what are we doing at this point in time to reach and to make it attractive for organizations to work with? I
I'm sorry, is
understand, for example, that
is that a question for me?
it
I
is it
Okay.
is a question. And maybe it's not just for you. I do understand that our co-chair has a organizational affiliation with the Transit Assistance Program. So if you share with me what you may know about how we make this attractive to organizations, maybe our co-chair can also share why her organization is attracted. And I know one of the reasons would be to better serve the individuals that are part of the programming. But you know, what do we do for those organizations who are working to do that with us? Is the question.
I mean, I can describe to you the efforts that we make to promote this both to individual writers and uh, and nonprofit organizational partners. I just don't know if that is within the scope of this meeting. I don't know how much detail you would want on that, but I
Well,
can
the
talk.
reason
I can.
ask is because I do know we're working to try to get more information out to individuals. And I think one of the ways of doing that is to attract organizations to work with us to serve the people they're serving. And so I want to know, what do I say to an organization in order to attract them to work with us to get passes for their clients?
Well, I guess I would start with saying, so the two links that I posted in the chat, the first one is for the individual transit rider. The second one is a landing page specifically for nonprofits that are thinking about TAP and partnership. So we have a promotional video there. It's less than a minute long, and it is available in all of our supported languages. And I think it's a nice web page in that it has, I think, a good, I would say, persuasive spiel about why you should be a TAP partner without, I would say, getting too long and potentially confusing for nonprofit staffers who, I spent several decades in the nonprofit world. These staffers often have a lot more work than they have time. And so I think that's, I would, again, without belaboring this question, that's something that we're just always striving to do, is to make things as simple, easy, and fast as possible for the individual rider who might want to sign up, as well as for the organizational partners. Like, how can we make becoming a partner easy, straightforward, welcoming? How can we do that? And how can we make the ongoing administration of this as easy to do as possible?
Okay. Well, that's helpful. It is a service to individuals who could be a part of their program. And if we make it easy and we make it available and we reach out to them, then the next thing I would want to be able to do is make sure to refer them. So having the link available that I can send to people is helpful to me. Thank you.
Great.
Now I've had the other Carter, Councilmember Carter, get your hand up for a while, then get over to Mitchell next.
Okay, I've been trying to hang in there. First of all, I want to say I think this is a great program. Having been a person that went through the deprivation of not being able to get around because my family just didn't have the money. So I kudos to that. The other thing is, it kind of mirrors what our sister Tony said. I am concerned about the kind of marketing and outreach, because often in low income and poor communities, many people aren't aware of a lot of things like this, programs like this. So, in other words, is this going to be on Spanish language radio? Is it going to be on KMOJ? What's the marketing plan in general to make sure that people are made aware? Is it going to be, in other words, what's the net of outreach? And I think we need to be aware of that, and because hopefully over time that'll improve, and that'll probably improve the success of the program.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mitchell?
Yes, thank you. I appreciate your time. I was just looking at so 50% area median income, is that the qualifier? Because if it's 50% AMI, then no one on that would really qualify for SNAP or WIC or MA. So is that the threshold, 50% AMI?
Yeah, anything at or below 50% of AMI, yes.
Okay, yeah, I feel like that. I mean, it's just interesting looking at the statistics, because it says like 70% white people, 61 or 41% have some college, 50% AMI. It seems like it's a particular type of ridership that's really being marketed to here. I know that there was a study on school ridership that was in your presentation, and I was just kind of confused because I read the whole thing. It was like 100 pages or something, but I was just wondering what that has to do with this, because there were some interesting things in there. So I guess my question is, the numbers seem a little high, like it's or a little odd that, you have 70% white people, 61% or 41% college degree. That's not typically people who are on WIC and SNAP, and stuff like that. And then also, how does the survey, the U of M study tie into this? Thank you.
I'm sorry, is the first question about the slide showing the current demographics of people who fall? Is it this slide that you have questions about?
Yeah, that would be it. Because I mean, it's looks like it's targeting a particular. I mean, it's like people with some college, predominantly white, but that conflicts with qualifying for any of the services that allow you to get this pass. And I'm just thinking from I work for a neighborhood association. This is very sensitive information for people. Not everyone wants to show you these documents. I'm a lot more likely, if I'm making $43,000 a year, to just bring my lease and a utility bill and say, hey, $1 a year, than I am to go, find the place where I need to go and then sign up and then reveal a lot of really personal information to people. So for me, it's if I was in the office and I legally couldn't do it as a social worker, but if someone, it's just very sensitive information. So I guess part of that question is, how are you addressing that gap? Because it seems like this is very skewed towards a particular type of rider, and not really meeting the people that need it the most. So I guess that would be my comment.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Edward, you have your hand up? I don't know if I'm reaching Edward, or I think you're on mute.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. And just to kind of piggyback that a little bit, in looking at that data, the speaker just talked about, it seemed like the folks that would benefit from this is more college students. And I'm drawing that assumption, which is not a good thing to do, based on presentations from a year ago where data was presented to us about the number of unannounced cancellation of routes in communities of color, and which was brewing a lot of frustration with some low-income people. Not that communities of color is synonymous with low-income people, were frustrated by it. The fact that trying to get to work, the bus would be canceled. There were no previous notifications. So in addition to this, if it's targeted for them, I would think that you would want to track the consistency with the routes staying consistent in those communities where people would benefit from a program like this. So to just present it as this program that would be beneficial to the community, I'd have to draw some correlation between the benefit of a program like this and the consistency with the Met Council keeping its route schedule in place. Because the numbers were pretty atrocious last year that they presented to us. I think something like, I don't know, it was up 30% of the buses that went through there on certain routes in communities of color were canceled and they were unannounced. And so I would like to see how this program targets those communities and how there is consistency with keeping the routes going and not canceling the transportation services to people.
Is there any other questions, comments?
Hand's not up again, but if there's an opening,
Yep.
I would
Go.
just say thank you for those comments. That starts to get to the place of how we do make certain that where we have communities that are high poverty communities, we are marketing this program, transit assistance program, in those areas, and hopefully using it to increase the use of transit for transportation in those communities by lowering the costs. And so, the questions that I asked earlier about utilization or penetration really can be assisted by that kind of marketing that is target marketing into communities that are maybe already high transit users, but have also high transit need, where we could improve that. So I'm interested in making that and endorsing that comment and hoping that we are doing those kinds of things to understand where we can affect a deeper penetration inside those communities and make sure that people who need this service are able to sign on and get the lowered fare. So thanks again for the comment. And yes, I do want to see us returning back thoughts as to how, in fact, we are getting that greater penetration.
All right, I don't see hands up. So again, thank you for the presentation. It's very, very helpful. I've actually learned a lot from it already. I think we can always follow up and get some of these specific questions answered here. So if you have another question you want to be, we can, staff here will also follow up to ask, bring the question, and we can also bring it back to the next committee. I think it's always healthy to give some time and digest things and then send it forward. With that, I think yes,
Councilmember
sir.
Pacheco,
Yes, ma'am. Yeah,
we do have a hand up.
I'm looking.
Carmian.
I'm not seeing
Sorry,
it, but
I know it can be hard to see on these screens. I just wanted to make sure that the presenter had received what they needed from us. I know that we asked presenters to kind of have an ask when they came, and we had lots of questions, but I'm not sure if we got to their need.
Yeah.
That was not my understanding, is that I needed to bring an ask. So I
No,
think you
her
can,
ask just
okay.
was to, if you had an organization that you would like to have this information or a way that you would like to see it presented, that was all she was saying. Like, if you have any suggestions, as she stated in her presentation, to ensure that this information gets to your community, then you can put those suggestions in the chat for sure, and we'll add it. We'll add them to the notes. If you have suggestions that you brought of how you would like to target or penetrate, or if you have an organization that may need this information that we can give it to. Is that kind of what you're looking for?
Yeah,
Carmen?
that was exactly what I was getting at. Thank
Okay.
you.
Yeah, but if you do, please put the organizations in the chat that you may suggest, or how you want the information if you had a suggestion to better penetrate your community.
all right. I think I'm tracking. Well, again, thank you for the presentation. Really appreciate it. It's again, so moving on now. I think on the agenda, if I can move mine.
Oh, I didn't know if you were going to introduce us. the next agenda item. Council member Pacheco. Or did you introduce this? Maybe mine's blocked out and I didn't hear the introduction. Did he get disconnected? Oh, he got disconnected. He's back on.
Oh,
He's back on. He's back on.
Round two. Does he
Am I
have-
ready? Am I ready now? Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Yes.
All right. I've been lost on this computer all day today, and I'm not sure why. I need a new one. This is a Met Council computer, and it blocks me for so many things that I have to come back in here and have them set this thing for me. But that aside, I think we can move on. I think what we have next on the agenda, was that Lila or Tori? Was that you?
Both of us, basically.
Okay.
Yeah, so hey, AAC members. So we just wanted to use the rest of this time since we have it. Wanted to make sure that we utilize the time that we have. I will share my screen on some couple of items and updates that we have for today. It's also the beginning of the year, so there are a couple of changes and things going on for the EAC. We will talk about recruitment a little bit further as far as how many seats we have available for some of the district seats that are up and members that are reapplying and said that they want those seats again. So we do have that going on as well. So there's just a couple of things that we will discuss. Updates. So the EAC attendance, EAC recruitment, EAC co-chair seat, EAC photos and members' bios. I know that we asked for some of those things last year, but we didn't get some from everybody. We do want to have chances to highlight you on our EAC website, just to give a little bit more detail to who our EAC members are and give a little bit more character to you guys. We wanted to talk about that as well. Lila's going to touch on that and the EAC one-on-one conversations. And then we have something about sharing our community information. So we also want to invite this space to not only share what we have going on, but if there's something that you have going on in your community or something that you want to announce, if that's an organizational thing or an event or anything like that, we rarely get any of those things from you guys. Please bring those things to us. We want to also make this space available for those things as well. We do a lot of things that has to do with council updates, but this is a sharing space. And we want to make sure that we support everybody in this space when it comes to some of the events that happens in our communities. And then we have the open floor discussion. So if there's anything that you want to talk about, then we can. I think it'd be good to start off with maybe just discussing the EAC co-chair seat first. We're going to open that up now until next meeting. So if you would like the process, I'll explain it of how it works. So what you do is you submit your name and then you submit why you want to become EAC chair. Then at the next meeting, we'll say everyone who submitted their wants to become the chair. And then we'll have the committee do a blind, a vote for whoever they want to be the co-chair, and that's who will become the co-chair. So you will have that time in the committee meeting to speak up next meeting on why you want to become the co-chair, and then you'll be able to get voted for. So the vote is up to you and the committee. I think we have a strong 15 people in this committee. So that's a nice area, sweet spot for people to vote. Only committee members get to vote. So you will be voting for each other based on who you may see fit for the position. So if we do have anybody, don't be afraid. This is a great leadership opportunity. Don't shy away from the job. It's a great space to be in. So if you do want to, you can go ahead and send me and Lila an email and just stating your name and why you want to be co-chair. The co-chair position is a 2-year position. Or is it every year? Lila, is it 2 years or is it 1 year? Can you clarify that?
It's an annual.
Yeah, it's
Annual.
annual. So Vanessa's been on for 2 years, so she's been holding down the fort, okay? She did a very, very great job at being co-chair. Her attendance was wonderful. So a lot to follow behind, but there's always greatness that comes from this EAC. So I'm not I'm not worried about that. So yeah, annually we choose a co-chair. So that lets a lot of pressure off for you though, if you do want to become chair, because it's only a year position. So something to think about. And then we can go on and talk about recruitment. So right now, the seats are up for even the people that's on this committee that hold those seats. So if you want to reapply, you have to go through the process again, where you go through the application process, just because we want to be as equitable as possible, and that's just the rules of how we operate here. So that process, we'll send you the application, and we'll pull your application again. You'll go through the interview process. So we currently have 9 seats available. I believe it's 4 at-large seats and it's 5 district seats. And it's only that way because all the district holders are, old EAC members, majority of them. And we have 2 people, one person that's new, that's not joining us anymore. He was on a district seat. And then we have Leah. So those seats are for sure up. And I'll send out those seats in the email. Or I can just pull them up before the end of this meeting because I have them on hand. Do we have any questions for the co-chair seat or for the recruitment? So 4 at-large seats again. Go ahead, Mitchell.
Are you saying that everybody on here has to reapply?
No, just for those
Okay.
that's terms are up.
Okay, I'm sorry, I misunderstood. My bad.
Yes. So you just joined, Mitchell. So you got another 3 good years.
That's why I was like, okay, cool. We're good. Thank you.
Okay. But yeah, so those are the 2 things. And then we have the attendance. So our EAC attendance we just really want to give you Ed has a question.
So if you're reapplying, should you not apply for the co-chair?
If you're
Because
reapplying, you should
to sit on the council.
Lila, what do you I think that you should still submit your bid for the co-chair. I'm not gonna say that you shouldn't, because I wouldn't say that you shouldn't submit it. But Lila, what do you think? I would say still submit it.
Yeah, I would say also I agree with you, Tori. Still submit it if you'd like to be a co-chair. And then if your seat is up and you have to reapply, then you go through that process as well.
Exactly. So I think you should still submit it. We're not saying we're not gonna invite you guys back. You just gotta go through the process. It's just principalities. No, we're public, so I'm gonna keep it professional.
Well,
No.
so I do want to clarify that the seats don't belong to any particular person, and so when a term is up, it's up, and folks do need to reapply, and it does have to be open to the public. And honestly, it's the same process. Like Leah has decided that she's no longer going to be here. That seat is open, equal to a seat of a member whose term is up. But they have decided to reapply. So it's the same. It has to be fair and just and open. The seats it isn't going through the process. It is actually reapplying and screening again. So I just want to make sure that we clarify that.
Well,
Yes,
actually,
thank
it's
you.
not so clear for me as well. But my understanding is that to be a co-chair or an officer of any body, you have to be a member. So what we're saying is that you can reapply for your seat or apply for, I don't know if there's open seats right now, but once those are established, then you open it up for co-chair. But I don't think you can be a co-chair without being a member. Is my point.
So So, Councilmember Pacheco,
Yeah.
correct. So the folks who are applying are still members up until the point where we refill the seat, right? This is the same process as the council. If you remember, when you joined the council and then you became co-chair, there was a process where everyone had to reapply for their role, and then the chair then appointed council members. This is the same process as that. So to stay consistent, we are actually using the same process. But you were still in the co-chair role until you were confirmed and things like that. So we're going to use that same process. Does that help with clarifying, or did I just confuse things even more?
Well, the only part is that as a council member, I'm appointed to the council to serve on this committee
Yes.
as chair of the committee. And
Oh, Councilmember Pacheco, you're cutting out.
Okay, I see everybody.
Okay, I
No.
think you're back. Can you repeat that?
Okay, I just want to be clear. So because I'm a council member, and as a council member, I was chosen by the chair to
Mhm.
chair the equity committee.
Right.
Now, the co-chair was chosen by the members of the EAC.
Yes, that's our process.
Yeah.
Yep, correct. Yep, that's our process. But the co-chair still needs to be confirmed by the chair. So even though we have a voting process for the co-chair, once we go through our process, we then send that name up to the co-chair, and then they are confirmed by, to the chair of the council, and then they're confirmed by the chair. That it's slightly different because this is a committee and then you're on the council itself. And so the process is slightly different, but at the end, the chair of the council has to confirm both roles or appoint
Right.
both roles, I should say.
And that's consistent with the Parks and Open Space Committee and these other committees that
Correct.
we have,
Correct.
TPP and others. So it's just another
Correct.
committee. That's from my
Yep.
end. Edward,
Correct.
you had
Yep.
Edward, you had a comment, a question?
No, I think she may have clarified it. I guess the thing that was interesting in that is that if you are reapplying, there is the slight possibility that you may not rejoin the EAC. And if you ran for co-chair and your colleagues on here voted you in as a co-chair, but then you're not seated, you just have to step away from the co-chair. Or should we just tell people get certified as a member of EAC and then you can run for co-chair?
The thing is that when it comes to co-chair, we have to respect the process. And being that it's the beginning of the year, we have to move forward with things. So we have to pick a new co-chair. We cannot postpone it any longer. We have to have someone here step up and rightfully, just go on with the process. We're kind of a year late on it, to be honest. So we don't want to slow up the process any longer. I think that's very important. And as new members come in, it'll give them a chance to learn the committee and then decide if that's something that they want to do. So I'm okay with giving the people on this call the first chance to become co-chair, especially since this is an agenda item that should have happened January 1st of the year.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, any more questions for recruitment or co-chair seat? Also, for recruitment, we got a question that we wanted to ask. If you want to just put it in the chat, you can, or you can do it this way. So, if you have an organization that you specifically or people that you want us to reach out to, please let us know. Oh, I don't want to present in Teams. Just want to share. Okay. Okay, I think you can just use this code and you can just join it if you can just screenshot it or whatever you want to do, write it down, and you don't have to take time and look at it on the screen as it appears. We're just looking for organizations or people that you would like us to reach out to. This is a process for you guys to be involved. And if you want people or have someone that you may suggest that I believe Leah reached out and said someone wants to apply for the EAC, so we will be reaching out to them specifically. And it's just a way for us to reach out to individuals and get people on the committee that may be deemed valuable for it. So organizations that we can recruit from. If there's a specific organization, maybe it's your organization that you may have that you want to join our community list of individuals that we send this information to. Because in our recruitment process, we do a range of things. We do social media, we do direct contact, we may post a flyer within libraries. So there's a lot of things that we do to recruit EAC members. But we want to know what's effective, and a way that may be effective is connecting directly with your constituents. So if you have anybody that you want to suggest or any organization, please let us know so that we can go ahead and move forward with giving them the information. And we want to grow. So we want to grow the EAC as well. So we don't want to just keep reaching out to the same people and the same organizations. We want to venture out. And I think that's a really important part of having you guys here to help us understand where our blind spots may be. So if you have anybody, please put it in the chat, or you can take a screenshot of this Menti and it'll start to populate there at any time. I'll keep it up there for 10 seconds. Okay.
And Tori, I just also want to share that folks can mail us as well. It doesn't have to be right now. You might need a few minutes to think about it. There may be someone in your community or your social groups that you think would be good. We can also send out an application to folks as well. So we will also reach out to committee members to help us spread the word, and to help us just share the information on recruitment. So we will reach back out to everyone for that assistance.
And we're praying that this will go live March. So getting all the information together for social media and flyers now, and then communication will be pushing this out during that time. So we'll have a month full of recruitment. Or how does that process work, Lila? Is it 2 weeks or is it a month? A month probably is more accessible for people to see the information.
I'll
But
have to double check the date. I believe it was a full month to recruit and spread the word. And then after we do our recruiting and that window is the application window is closed, we then reach out for interviews.
right. Yep. All right. So that's that. Attendance. I just wanted to give you guys a hooray, hooray, hooray for attendance. I think a lot of times we always pound you on attendance. It's not that good. So I just wanted to come in this space and say virtual is honestly doing great. And we want to keep it up. And if you need anything from us, what do you need to keep up your attendance? We also want to know those things. So if you have any suggestions in this space, you can speak up now. If you have any things that you may need from us to help you further your attendance as we move forward. So that may be an example, maybe, hey, we like virtual, we actually like being at home. But then some people may say we want to be in person, we missed the meal. Nobody wants to be out there at -8 degrees. But if there is something that you need, then let us know. What do you need from us? Go ahead, Ed. Or maybe what do you need from yourselves?
Yeah, I want to know if we're going to revisit the development of those questions that the
Okay.
presenters would be asked coming into presenting their information.
Presentation. Yeah, so I did look at those questions. I did reach out and send an email out to individuals that if you have any more comments or any more questions you would like to add or any more suggestions. I didn't get anybody that added any more suggestions back, you can go back in your email and look for that email and send suggestions. What I am doing is I'm putting those questions or those results that you did have is right here.
Is there a way,
Um,
Tori, excuse me.
yeah,
Is
go
there a
ahead.
way that we can set aside like 15 minutes of our next meeting to have that facilitated? You know, what would be some possible questions asked? I mean, there's some things that I think just coming to the table that would just be simple things that they should build their presentation around.
Okay.
Like the
Okay.
one tonight, I couldn't help but to think about the route stuff and how it's been derelict in certain communities. And then you got this program that's a great incentive for people, but the derelict route situation make people have a hard time even seeing bus transportation as a reliable service for them. So even though they can get it cheaper, so it would, you know, I think that it's nice to submit things, but we could just be duplicating what other people are sending. If we could have a nice facilitated session for about 15 to 20 minutes to
We
kind
got
of
some time now.
brainstorm on it.
We got some time. We can have that discussion at the end. We have a lot of time for discussion. Can you hear me?
Tori, let's put it on the agenda for next month.
Okay.
I don't remember who we have on the agenda. If we have the 15 minutes, let's go ahead and add it for next month. I do want
We're
to
gonna need more
share.
than 15 minutes. I'm gonna let you know 15
Sure.
minutes is not gonna be
Let's
enough time to have this conversation.
let's take a look at the agenda, and if there's the opportunity to put that on there, let's do that. I do want to share that maybe it might be a good idea, Edward, if that's a topic that you would like to explore more, it might be good to have the folks come share about where they are with routes. I want to also just share, I believe we're back to pre-pandemic routes. And so it might be good if this is a question that you have related to this presentation for us to reach out to some additional folks to help us just be updated on where we are with routes.
Well,
And so
no,
we can add that to the next agenda.
it's not that. I just thought you know, being at the Met Council and that you have a lot of influence on what happens in the metro area to come in and say, we're offering up this reduced rate transportation program, and we're doing that because wages are suppressed and housing cost is up. It would have said, in addition to lowering the rates, we're doing these things to increase wages in the metro area, and we're doing these things to reduce the cost of housing in there. So when you take these all together, we're making it more affordable in the community. But
That would
it's
be
almost
ideal.
like blinders are on, and we're just going to do this one little thing here to appease poor people versus address, if you are addressing, maybe you are addressing it, bringing information about how holistic and comprehensive the Met Council efforts are. And that's probably presenting it that way because they're not comprehensive and holistic. They are a tunnel vision approach. And so, but that would have been nice to have that in the presentation today, but that didn't come, so I'm cool with that.
I don't
But
think she would be able to supply a lot of that information too. And then back to what we were discussing, and when it comes to these questions, because I know a lot of times we have so much that we want to see, but there are some times when we have to be specific in the programs that we do offer here at the council and giving you, the EAC, the information that we do have when it comes to a lot of the equity initiatives that we do, or the diversity or inclusion initiatives. It might not seem like it's everything at the table at once, but we rest assured bring you new items, and we are out there looking at what we're doing at the council right now when it comes to housing, when it comes to transportation, and the things that we do have a lot of impact on in equity. So I do hear what you're saying, and I believe that they're very important. We will put time on the agenda next time to discuss these topic areas. I do want you guys to prepare though, respond to that email that I did send out on these questions if you do have further suggestions, just so that when we do come to the meeting, I'll have all those things on a document ready for you guys to discuss and comment on, so that
Yeah,
nothing is left out of the process.
okay, we've got like three up the hands up here, and Councilmember Carter.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, thank you. I'm responding to the question about what we need to help us. And I have a very, very, I think, an issue with our documentation. I am looking back on somewhat, a sporadic basis, but I have been looking back to find in particular the presentation that we presented, that our co-chairs presented to the Metropolitan Council, and also the yearly plan that we were putting together. And I'm not able to find those on our site. I think for people who are coming to join us, for them to see the work that has taken place and also to understand the planned work would be very important. It is also important for us by way of planning our meetings and knowing what's coming up, to see that plan and to know where we are in that plan. It is germane to the conversation that we're going to have about questions that we would ask of presenters coming to us. But just to know where we're headed, for me is very important. And I think it's going to be important for our ability to recruit and engage new members in a productive way as well. I want to ask very specifically then for our meeting agendas, when we should expect to know what's on the next agenda. If this relates to an annual work plan that I know, talked about, and where I can find that work plan. I also want to know where we can find the presentation that was given. It may be in emails, but for every committee of the Met Council, the documentation, the historic documentation, contains that information that was presented, the work that was done. And I'd like our site to be that way as well. I realize we may have some resource issues, but help us to understand that, because I really want us to know what our plan is and where we are in that plan, and to be able to connect the work that we're doing and planning to do to our plan. I know it's not going to be perfect, but I do want to at least see it. So can somebody help me with that?
Yes, and I believe I did send out the plan. I'm looking for the email now of where I sent out the plan in January for this meeting. And I did have, I don't know why it's not connected here, but I will go in there, and I don't understand why these two presentations aren't connected here. But usually if you go on the EAC website, let me see, like, say if I go like the archive of information that you may be discussing, I'll do my due diligence in uploading the minutes on here, but I do send minutes out in every EAC email as well.
Yeah,
For
and
you
I'm
guys.
not as concerned about the minutes as I am about being able to go back to a meeting and click in and see the presentation. I can see presentations that were brought to us, but I can't see our discussions, that end of the year wrap up, the yearly plan breakdown. Those things don't show up. They're not linked. And I want to
Okay.
make sure that they are. And that we're able to know what our plan is and reference it and know where we are in it, what we're going to do, what we're not going to do, that we can be thoughtful about the work coming forward. So I'm asking that because, it's sometimes hard to hold that thread of what our work is without really seeing that plan.
Okay.
And so
I'll go.
I appreciate it maybe in an email, but I think we need to see it on our site, and that we need to hold on to those things so that we can see what we did and we can look forward to what we are going to do. We can have those discussions within that context.
Okay,
You know,
that sounds.
I understand that, and I had a similar question. Even actually just coming into this meeting today, it was, I know that we've talked to some things at the last meeting about having stuff prepared earlier so we're prepared when we go up to the meeting. So I went back and looked at our last committee meeting, but the video that showed up was in June something 2024. And so I lost that opportunity to come to this meeting with a few more points of information. I also I'm 100% behind you on let's pull that work plan again, because it's hard when you only meet once a month, and you go over so many things. It's unless we have our own direction, we end up commenting on somebody else's plans when they're not connecting to our own. And so I want to make sure that as we put more information is, I mean, there's standing reports that we do regarding EEO and some other compliance things that we can have way ahead of time as we do them on the annual basis. So I'm 100% behind finishing and this plan and the timeframes and getting the technology to along there with us.
Okay.
I just think it would be helpful. So thanks for hearing that.
Yes, and after this meeting, I will send you the plan. I will forward you the plan for the 2025 and the information that we presented for January when we discussed the yearly wrap-up plan. Um, if you do go in the archive that's what I don't know why these two aren't connected because those are the two plans, but that's a real easy fix. Both of these things are real easy fix. And I just
Great.
want to go back to this meeting and let you know that this meeting here is from January 21st. So you had to be clicking back a little bit further, and it had to be a mistake because this meeting is from January 21st, which is our last meeting, and all of the meetings are up to date.
No,
So
I'm not able to get into
Title
it.
says June 18th.
you're not able to get into this is on the public site. This is on
Okay.
Google.
You know, I don't think we'll
No,
fix
no, because I
that
want to
today, but
resolve
what I'm
this.
saying is that when I go to the last meeting we had, I can't see our documents. I can't see the work plan, and I can't see the presentation on the site. So I appreciate that you'll send it to me by email, but I really want it to be on the site as a record of our work. And so that we can look to it at any time.
Mhm.
And so that
Okay.
anyone in the public domain can look to it as well and
Okay.
see what work we're going to do. We're trying to be committed, and so we need to know what we said and we need to know where we're going. And we need to have those documents maintained well. Let us know what you need so that we can count on that.
Okay.
Sai, saw you have your hand up. Oh, I think I lost you.
I think that was next. Zachariah. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, thank you, everybody. I did have two things that I wanted to touch on. I think the confusion about the last meeting's recording was on the title, it just had June something. So I think it was a title error that might have thrown folks off. And the second thing is Tori's question about what we need. Personally, for me, I think from my point of view and currently my just what I'm going through personally, virtual works a lot better, and it allows me to attend and be more present than being in person. So I would advocate for that. I know there's folks with accessibility issues. Not everybody has access to cars or you know transportation to arrive in person. There's also childcare needs, all that. So I'm a proponent of being in virtual, but I do understand the benefits of being in person as well. So I would recommend something like having a in person every 3 months or something like that, just so that we get to see each other and mingle, but also use the virtual option as an opportunity to get a lot of the work done. That's all I wanted to add. Thank you, everybody, for all the work you do. And especially thank you to Layla and Tori as well. I know it's
Lila.
not easy. Lila and Tori, thank you all for what you do.
Thank you.
Councilmember Carter,
Okay, Mitchell.
your hand's up?
I think Mitchell had a comment.
Oh, I thought he was, okay.
I just wanted to, yeah, so I hear what Councilmember Carter is saying about documentation. That does make a lot of sense. And I also wanted to state that I have watched the last meeting several times for the link that was to the meeting, and for me it's been accurate for me. So I just wanted to point that out. Just for Tori's sake, that
Yeah,
it's
and
been
I can see where the mistake is where it says June 18th, but it is last meeting. So I'll check with Greg because that's not a Tory problem or EAC. That's more of a presenting thing. So Greg will be the one, he's on the call, so he can hear you. He'll be the one that go back in and fix that title of the meeting. So we'll get that figured out and fixed. So thank you for pointing that out and the indifference of that. Cause I'm like, how can that be? But it's
And
the
forgive
title
me, I
problem.
can't get, for some reason, I can't pull my hand down. My phone is about to go out. So if I disappear, that's why. I was trying to get on my computer. But listen, I want to thank you for all of the work that you do. I also want to be understood that the documents on our last meeting, the January 21st meeting, I cannot get to those links. And I just, want to make sure that as we talk with the technology folks, they understand how important it is for us to see the documentation and that they link that for us so that it's there on an ongoing basis.
Yes.
I will be looking back at that information because it's important to us to track our plans.
Yes,
So
and I'll be
thank you
sure to
for
attach those ASAP, literally. I'm not going to go to sleep without attaching those documents. So you'll be sure to have them for sure.
Great. Yeah, and I'm not raising my hand. It's just still raised.
Oh, okay. I can unraise it for you. No worries.
Thank you.
Mr. Tyrone Carter, I think your hand's up.
You're on mute.
I'd just like to reiterate the piece about the documentation because sometimes if you miss a meeting, you want to go back and you want to check things out, or even beforehand. I think that's like our glue is the documentation, and so if we don't have that glue, we're not going to be as cohesive and as effective as we can be. So um, I think that's very important. But uh, and the other thing uh, I want to say is I look forward to uh, being available whenever this committee needs me as much as possible. But I know that sometimes, just like everybody else, I have conflicts, and so I think the virtual meeting it adds to my ability to connect and be here. So I just want to thank you for that.
You have any other questions?
I think you have
Lila
one
or
hand
Tori?
raised. I think you have a
Okay,
hand
oh, I
raised.
see it. I see it now. Edward? Maybe you're on mute or maybe I'm not calling you.
Yeah, I got it. Thank you, sir.
Not a problem.
Yeah, I just want to thank the staff. Staff's been doing a great job. There's so much more organization in what we are doing now than before you guys got here. So that's really, truly appreciated. And I don't want that to go unsaid, right?
Thank you.
We really do appreciate you guys and what you're doing. And it gets better and better each month. And that's the cool thing about it. I do think that we are kind of at a threshold where these folks coming in to present us should at least do a couple things, like tell us what their equity objectives are, what progress that they're making toward that, how the specific initiative tied to the 2040 plan, 2050 plan, and what are the outcomes and where can we fit in helping them to better achieve the equity outcomes in what they're doing, something along that line. If they get that up front, we can anticipate them coming in to um, give us that information at a minimum, and it helps us with, at least it helps me. I don't know if it helps everybody else. There are probably other things that can be asked, but it really does help uniform all of the presentations and in some ways start to condition the internal operations of the Met Council around those things. If they're coming to us, they have to answer these 5 questions as a part of their presentation. It'll have a big influence on them. And I hope that's something that we achieve in 2025, is that they will come with uniform presentations that really speak poignantly to the equity efforts of their division, of the initiative that they've got underway, and projected outcomes or progress made towards outcomes, something along that line. And I know you said, Tori, that we'll talk about this next.
Please put that all of those points, Ed. Please put those in the Mentimeter or put those in an email so that we can take those points and we can add them to the document. And so we won't lose that information that you're giving, because it's all valuable. But when we do come to a consensus and we come back together, we are going to have to dial some things out. So also start thinking about maybe losing some things and keeping the top 5 things that we can ask presenters, or the top 10 or something along those bases. And they can come back with maybe 3 or 4 of the questions answers that are most important. So I do want you guys to categorize what's the most important questions you want answered and the least, so that we can make sure that we do give our presenters grace as they do come in, present to us, and make sure that they present on information that they do have, as well as the things that you guys may be requesting.
I only bring this up because while I would love to think that the systems that we operate here are not racist in what they do, systemic racism doesn't exist. But, it wasn't hard for me to see that program really appeases students in college, or maybe even kids going to school, versus anybody in communities of color.
I think my granddad used that program.
If you tie all of the issues together, the policing of people of color in public transportation, a whole lot of things that deter them from its utilization, and not to mention the unwillingness to apologize for an offensive poster, which probably was just put there just to see how much offensive stuff they could get away with us. And with that being said, I'm just going to leave it there. And
I do want to clear that matter up just a little bit. When it comes to presenting and presentations, I know that a lot of things are done internally. So she did present the same presentation or a similar presentation to the council to also get information on the program. That's kind of how I was like, hey, this is a program that EAC should be taking a look at. And I actually reached out to them to come to the committee, because I feel like it's very important for you guys to have this information as community members. And I think it just could have been handled just a little bit better, especially when this space is still a welcoming space. It's a space where when we have presenters and we have people, yes, they need to be criticized. Yes, they need to be held accountable for the things that they do, but it's also a way to hold people accountable. And when you're in a space that has to be fair to all people we still want to make people feel welcome and wanting to come to the EAC. We don't want to shy people away from coming here. So we want to make sure that this is a respectful space, and that if you do have a concern, let's count to 5 before we reply. Write it in the chat. Some things are better said in wording than it is said with expression through words. So we have to understand that we still hold accountability as community members and offering a fair space for people in the council to come and present to us on projects and ideas. This still is a council space, and we have to follow workforce procedures, and we still have to respect people in this space. So yes, you have a concern, and Ed, we're going to come back to you, and we're going to
Oh,
let
I'm
Vanessa
done.
speak.
I'm
We're going to
done.
let Vanessa speak.
Can I say something, Tori, before
Okay.
before
Yeah, go ahead,
Vanessa?
Lila.
I just want to say one last thing. Thank you, Tori, for saying that. Yes, we do have to follow the respectful workplace policy and procedure here, and we do want to make sure that folks people come to us so that we can give them that feedback and so that they can go back and correct it. But we want to make sure that we're providing our feedback in a way that's going to be beneficial, that's gonna actually make the change that we're striving for. The other part is, Ed, you made a lot of great points, and I think that one of the things that we need to also figure out with the committee is, how do we provide all of that feedback? It's great to say it to us, but it's even better to say it to the presenter and to allow them to take that back in and make those adjustments on their end. So just figuring out our feedback mechanisms, what we can do. Tori mentioned the chat. I don't want anybody to put anything in the chat because I don't think members of the public can see it on YouTube. But just let's give as much feedback as we can to the presenter. If we need to follow up, we can certainly do that. And then we want to make sure that we're holding space in a very respectful manner. Absolutely provide the constructive feedback, provide the hold people accountable, all of those good things. But we also still need to go back into the organization and invite people in, and we have to convince people to come if more and more people come here and they feel like they're not treated well. So that's something that just, it makes, we want to make sure we're respecting people, but it also makes our work even more difficult with having to convince people to present here. So that's a point I think that we want to make sure folks hear as well. And I'll let Vanessa go ahead
Yeah.
and share.
And we know this space get emotional. Okay. We know this is an emotional space.
Thank you, guys. I just wanted to say basically the same thing that you two were just saying. I think a lot of times people come, they prepare their presentations, they look forward to coming here to the committee, and then they're attacked. And if it was me, I'd be like, I'm never going back there, before they even get a chance to finish their presentation. Or, yeah, we are here to voice our concerns and to help move equity forward, but it has to be done respectfully, and put yourself in that person's position. They're probably already nervous, probably already, worried about, um, whatever pushback they're going to get. And they should get pushback, and they should get feedback, because that's the whole purpose of the committee. But if they're going to be in dread, then why would they even come? And I don't think that's helpful to anybody. So I just think it's a way to do everything, and that's just my opinion.
Mr. Chair,
I think Tyrone was council member Tyrone was next, Ed.
okay, as long as I get to say something before we go off, I just
we
want
got 28 minutes, 20 something minutes. So you'll definitely get your time.
Okay. What I wanted to say was, as a person that, I studied history. I have a degree in history. I grew up, obviously, I'm an African-American male, and I grew up at a time where people were very outspoken and militant about anything that was said wrong or done wrong. And I was one of those persons, but I think we should have a policy uh, that allows us to have a procedure and a method of dealing with something that we might find offensive, because sometimes people do things and there's no intent. They're just trying to maybe make a point, or underscore something, and they stick their foot in the mud and do it in the wrong way. And but so I think before you call somebody out, we should have a way of doing that doesn't really put that person on the spot, but still allows us to question them whether that's done after the meeting or whether we screen those kinds of things before, we need to have a stated policy so that we're not in a reactionary mode, you know, and, because making them feel welcoming as opposed to be on the firing line. So if somebody does something blatantly and they mean to do it, of course they deserve to be on the firing line. But we should be able to do things in a measured way so that we're sure of what we're doing. We're sure of that intent. And so we need to have a stated policy in terms of how we respond to something that we may think is unsavory or inappropriate. We need to kind of think that out beforehand and have that kind of written down and ready.
Is there anything that you guys do in the council meetings? Any policies or anything that you guys can bring down to this committee as council members that you do in your space when you may have a complaint of something that may not be of something that may go against your beliefs or the things you may represent? Is there something that you guys use?
Well, I'm going to look around and see how, I'm not that I'm aware of, but I'm going to look around and see how some other bodies handle that. And,
Yeah.
and I'll put my 2 cents in, but, yeah, whatever it is, it needs to be something that's well thought out beforehand so that, because this is an age where a lot of people are upset and on edge, and rightly so. And I'm one of them. But I always try to kind of take a beat before I respond to something and make sure, because with me personally, everything's about intent. It's all about intent. If you step on my foot and you didn't intend to step on my foot, I'm not going to knock you to the ground because that was an accident, But, if you intentionally step on my foot, and I know that that's what you do because I've seen you do that to other people, that's different. So, I'm just saying we don't want to be in a reactionary body, but we want to be a body that takes people to task when it's justified to take them to task.
Well, if I may, I
Well,
believe there was intent to come to present that photo in order to get what was gotten so that the person can go back and go, oh my God, they beat up on me for bringing this poster in. We should
Well, we
never
don't know. We don't want to make any
agree.
assumptions on a public meeting.
No, I'm just
So
saying.
we
I'm
don't
not
want
going to
to
sit here.
accuse anybody of
I'm not
anything.
going to sit here and blame myself for an offensive piece of artwork that somebody brought to me.
We're not saying that, Ed, and I think that you're
Yes,
so
it is.
offended. What we're saying is that.
okay, we
Go
we have
ahead,
enough
go
people.
ahead, Ed.
Can we have
We've
one
got a
more
lot of
speak
hands
at a
up.
time?
We've got a lot of hands
Yeah.
up. Ed, do you want to finish and then we could get to the
Yeah,
others? There's at least
that's all I want to do is finish, Mr. Chair.
all right.
And my point is, no one's going to sit here and convince me that that was not intentional. That was intentional. It always happened. There's a history behind it, and it will happen again. It has happened before in this committee. So I am glad Mercedes said, hey, that offended me, and didn't just sit silently and let it go by. And then she could have simply apologized for it and said, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see it that way, but that's okay. But she refused to do that. And that's all right. It's fine. It's no big deal. Our point was made. Hopefully she won't take it out there and disgrace the Met Council. But it's also a bad reflection on us. She come to us and it go get presented somewhere else. And we didn't basically say, hey, don't take that out because it's offensive. But let me just say this. My final thought is you are naive if you think that it's not done on purpose.
Thank you, Ed.
Councilmember Carter.
So I was just going to say, someone asked if there's something that we do at the Metropolitan Council that we could recommend for this body. And I do think that it does get back to our planfulness. I do not know. I may be naive enough to think that it could have been an error. So forgive me. That's me. I don't know. My point is that we are the equity
Advisory Committee. And a lot of what we need to do is about education. When we ask questions, it's not just because we want the answer, which we do, but it is also because we want to have impact. So if we can get to a point where our plan is documented and shared, then people will know when they're coming to talk with us that they need to screen their materials because we are going to give them feedback.
Mhm.
And in fact, that feedback should be helpful for their future presentations. They won't get everything out of it. There are going to be some things that are going to continue to need comment, to need our comment, our firm comment, an expression that it is offensive, but also, some guidance to them, because when they come to us, that's what they should be getting. They should be getting guidance with respect to equity. But even before they come to us, they should be abiding by some guidance that we've put out. So that's what planfulness is about for me, and the documentation and people being able to look at us before they come see us, and understand our protocols, understand that we are screening the materials, that we're learning, but that they're learning too. They're going to talk to us about the policy. We're going to screen with them and make the policy better where equity is concerned. So we have to have some of those standards set. And we also have to have those questions that we present in advance. I thought that there was some real good feedback given tonight about how to understand, what the penetration is, about asking for future work to be done with respect to what areas need more concentrated effort. I thought that a lot of the feedback we gave should be documented. Maybe we're using AI companion to, collect some of this so that we can give it back to them, because that's what we want to do. We don't, it's really hard to come to a meeting and just, have immediate, here's my list of things. So I'm glad that they're giving us links that we can use later, because that may need to happen. But as we set our agendas in advance and we're preparing and we're knowing what's coming before us, and they understand what we consider our roles and function to be, then I think we're all going to get better at this, because we know we're in education mode. They know we're in education mode. They kind of know what to bring us and what not to. And if in fact there's error, we'll call it out. We'll do so, in such a manner as to educate and to improve.
Anita, I think you've had your plan up a while.
Yeah, thank you. Let me start out by saying to Commissioner Tyrone Carter, I'm sorry, something popped on my screen. No disrespect to you, sir, but I don't sit on the commission of the Metropolitan Council. I sit on the Equity Advisory Committee as a community member. Now, I've been a commission chair when I chaired the Commission on Civil Rights in Minneapolis for 12 years. I understand the protocol, I understand the policy procedures of a commission, but I am a community member of the Equity Advisory Committee. And as a community member, I'm going to come in with my community behind me and my thoughts and my conversations. And sometimes that's going to mean I'm going to bring my anger with me, my frustration, and my weariness. But I'm also going to listen because I understand the protocols of a committee and how to move forward. And a conversation that I had with a director one time in a large utility company was sending out his employees, so to speak, telling his employees, go out to the community, do a presentation to the community, and then let's talk when you come back. The employees come back and the manager says, how was the meeting? How was the community meeting? And the employees said, terrible. They yelled at us. They were angry. They were pointing their finger at us. They're raising their voices. It was awful. But the manager then says, but what did you learn? Did you listen? Then the employees go out another meeting into the community. When they come back, the manager says to them, how was the meeting? Oh, it was perfect. It was great. It was wonderful. What happened? Nobody came. So that's always in my head. If I don't say anything, if I don't show up, if I don't speak, then what are the employees who are serving the residents going to learn? If I don't show my anger, how do they know that they need to change? If I don't tell my frustration or my weariness, are they going to automatically assume that everything is okay? And we can't, as a community member, I can't afford to let them do that. Because otherwise I wouldn't sit on this committee. I wouldn't be involved in any of the work that I do outside of this committee. When I look at this situation of my position, and I know sometimes employees don't want to take that feedback, and I know sometimes it can come across as being angry, but again, at the end, what did they learn? If they were listening, they learned something. That's all I want to say.
Yeah. I just want to say, I respect your position, and everybody has a different, the reason you come up with good solutions because you have diversity of opinions, and that's the real strength in diversity, um, a diversity of opinions. But so my I just like to take a more measured approach. Instead of being quick to anger, I'm more slow to anger, and I like to make sure that if I'm going to respond to an injustice or a slight, that it's justified. And I want to make sure that we build as many bridges as as possible in the course of what we're doing. So I'm not saying that my way has to be the way, but I'm saying um, we have to look at many ways and avenues of connection if we're going to go forward. And yeah, there may be sometimes when it's justified to take that tack, but there are other times when it's not. And I just want to make sure that we're not uh, putting up walls where we could have routes of connection. That's all.
Yeah, yeah, I respect that, and but I also think that as adults who have been actively involved in various community organizations, I think we all know individually how far to go and when to raise our voice and when not to, and when to speak in a tone that's not defensive or argumentative. And I think that so far we've been able to do that. For the majority of the time, we've been able to do that.
Mr. Chair, I just want to build off of what Anita said. I don't think anybody was angry here. And we're using these terms angry, disrespectful, not nice to the folks that brought in a poster that offended us. I mean, you could easily say that that person was offensive, was the one who was expressing anger by putting that document in front of our face. And I'm not going to and never will take the blame for the socioeconomic disparities that exist for marginalized people and people of color in this country and in this metropolitan area in St. Paul or Minneapolis, because I know who controls the system. And I know who makes the decisions if rents are going to be cheaper or wages are going to go up or fares are going to be equitable, if transportation is going to be on time in the community. We're not doing that. So don't, even with these new members on here, I hope that they don't feel like they have to somehow placate somebody that's offending them, not just through that poster, but just through the operation of these institutions and systems that are supposed to serve us. And you know what? We invest in them big time. They collect our money and do it. But I have yet to see one lead presenter outside of Sante that is a person of color to come to present before the equity group. And I'm being really nice and not saying anything about it. I'm keeping it right here in the family. I'm yes, a massa, I'm not going to say anything. It's cool that they're doing that, but it's one of the obvious things that I observed. I've not seen a indigenous person or a Latino person or, the diversity of our community even come before us to present that to this group. But I accept that. I swallow that. I come back to the meetings every month and I deal with it. Why should I be nice if that is the representation that the system is presenting to me when I know we deserve much more? And then to sit there and think that that poster was not put inside that presentation on purpose is really naive. You know what? Because the first slides sent around to us, you couldn't get those. It had to be resent because they could not be viewed on prior to the meeting. So when I got them the second time, I said, oh, I see why they didn't want those viewed before the meeting.
You couldn't
And we
see the
had them just ahead
presentation
of the
before the
meeting.
meeting?
Huh?
You couldn't view the presentations before the meeting when it was sent out on Friday?
Tori, I sent you an email basically explaining to you that the presentation was not viewable. And then
Really?
you did send it back later on, probably, I don't know. Anyway, we don't have to get into all of that. That's nor here or there.
We got about 9 minutes before we end here.
I'm just
so
gonna
we-
check up on it.
Yeah, but the
Okay.
point is that I just hope there's nobody else in here think that they have to somehow take the responsibility for the assault of the system upon our communities. Well, we
All right, 7:50.
we can take that if we don't try to change it. And we've been very professional. We haven't been angry or upset or offensive to anybody. We've reacted to things that have been offensive to us.
All
Okay.
right. We have Tyrone. I think it.
Yeah,
and then go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to say one last thing. Just me personally, I've been a person who's been outspoken all my life, and I've always stepped in the breach and said what I had to say. Even sometimes it costs me a great deal. So I'm the last person that's going to, bow to somebody or back down if somebody says something that I think is inappropriate. But I'm also the first person to give people the benefit of the doubt. So that's just my approach. But I think as a body, we need to come up with some sort of collective approach. That's all I'm saying. And it shouldn't go one way or the other. Just what is going to be the consensus when we do encounter things like that. We shouldn't have to make it up on the spot how we're going to respond. That's it.
Brittany, we haven't heard from you.
Yes.
And thank you.
I've been here. I've been listening.
Right.
I'm very observant, and I honestly believe everyone here sharing their truth is right in their own way because it's the experience we have. And I think someone already said the diversity in our opinions, that is diversity altogether. I just want to say, like Tori had shared earlier, kind of the perception and persistence in getting people to come to these spaces. I think that's part of the issue, right? Is trying to convince them that this is a place for them to be to share, and then also inviting them to think about the questions we formulated so that we're able to provoke them to think a little deeper in terms of the content that they're planning to share with us, but also so that they're prepared. And I think that's what I'm missing is the connection, because I'm also still learning. I'm from the suburbs, and everybody who comments month to month, I'm being educated on some of this stuff myself and trying to see how that's connected to some of the transportation that's happening where I live. And it would just really be nice to have those questions. I know it's redundant at this point, but that would help me know how they're applying and where their brain is at. I do a lot of emotional intelligence training, and so I understand when people are frustrated and tired, that's a response of not getting the answers that we're looking for, and also not being careful of how we show up with the values that we carry. So I just wanted to kind of just encourage and really strongly share in inviting folks into these spaces that we care a whole lot about our community, and that's really where those emotions come from, is that we have been silenced in spaces, and this is the place where I wouldn't even say it's safe, it's brave for all of us to be speaking our truth from our different perspectives, and they have to be ready to receive that bravery and be also receptive that is that should be encouraged, because what other spaces do they have to get our perspective? This is where the EAC lives. So I say all that to say is that I really appreciate everybody throughout this entire evening. From where you share, I can hear my grandma, my grandpa, my cousins. I can also hear my community. I can hear the love and support. And so I'm a silent listener, but I'm also an active listener. And I'm a biracial person. I deal with a lot of white people, and I have found my way to speak with them. But I also think those values and the invitation and how we dress things to get them here, it's a two-way street. They have to read the email that Tori and Layla send with the questions that we have so that they can prepare. So that's part of the issue that I'm noticing. Thank you for your time, and I really appreciate the discussion.
Thank you so much. And again, we do want you guys to come here and be embraced in this space. And this is a brave space. And neither are we ever telling you guys not to express yourself in this space. So we do want to make that clear. We love all the commentary and the questions that you have. It's been very fun and challenging at the same time to sit here as me and Lila participate in making sure that we do hone this community with the EAC and make sure that we protect it as well. So on to the next, we have a couple minutes left. So I want to get through these couple last things. I just want to say Lila will be reaching out to you guys individually about one-on-one conversations. She'll send a mass email out, and then she'll send individual requests for you guys. This won't have month that you want to discuss your one-on-one conversations with us, please reach out to us and give us a specific date that you are looking to speak with us. In those one-on-one conversations, we'll be discussing your EAC photo and member bio. When we do come together, we do want to take a group photo the next time or times that we come together. We want to start, introducing the faces of the EAC and humanizing the EAC, though, so people can, feel more connected to the individuals that sit in behind these seats and get to know you guys more at the same time. So Lila will be reaching out about that. Again, if you have some community organizations that you want us to recruit specifically to, we are trying to broaden our range when it comes to EAC recruitment. We don't want to just use the same tactics that we always want to use. We want to continue to embed new organizations within that process. So if you do have an organization or a community partner that you want to share, is it a person or community, we will be accepting that for sure. And then again, if you want to be on the co-chair seat, that is something that I do champion for you guys to go ahead and send in your request to become co-chair. You will be co-chair beside Councilmember Pacheco. So you'll get to know him on a more personal level and be invited to the co-chair meeting that happens before this meeting. So that's how that works. So we'll discuss that more with the co-chair as we get one. I think that's it. It was a very impactful discussion today. I just want to give everybody a hug through the camera because it was a lot said today, and this is still a brave and loving space. So I still want to let you guys know that we still love y'all. And I want to give a hug through the camera to let you know that, we're still here for you. And, no matter the disagreements or agreements that we do come to, we're still a community here at the EAC. So we want to make sure that we share that, and we love all your opinions, and no opinion or no question is a bad question. So we appreciate and we thank you guys for today.
Well, and I want to thank you and thank you staff overall. I mean, it's hard to keep everything organized but yet maintain the passion. And I think that's
Yes.
what happened today. I think we had some good information and it had some real authentic feedback on some of these things. And I think everybody has their own way to do that. But as I've been doing this for a long time as well, but I appreciate today's meeting. We always can email or text if you come away from this meeting and think of something that you thought would have said or could add some advice for us. That's greatly appreciated. It's really tough when you do a monthly meeting. You almost lose track of some things because you're getting ready for the next presenter. So if you have some time in the next couple of days, if you get it, the quicker we get it, the quicker we get back out there and maybe get some information that you've asked for in the past.
Yes,
so with
and I
that,
did
we
upload
are
those
exactly.
documents. I uploaded those documents on the share site from last meeting. So you should be able to see the presentation from our work plan from last year, a wrap up for presentation, and you should be able to see our 2025 work plan and there as well on the EAC website. And Greg is going to go back and fix that meeting title. So we'll get those things updated as soon as possible. But those presentations are there. So you should be able to see that right now.
All
All right,
right.
Councilmember Pacheco, let's
Anything
wrap
else
it up.
Yes. Yeah, well, that's what I'm doing here. And so again, if there's nothing else, we'll call this meeting adjourned. And again, I'll see you. And the door's always open. The emails are always open between now and then. You don't have to wait till the next meeting and come and put something on the table. That's there for you. The table's always there as well. Thank you. We're exactly 8:01.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.